today's back day. It's going to be a high volume back day. So over the last sort of 5 weeks, I've been adding working sets onto my back program, and this session today is going to be 27 working sets. So I find that when you're of advanced training status, or when you've got a few years of weight training under the belt, you're just not going to be able to add reps and weight week to week. So a way that you can essentially get past that by still progressively overloading is just by adding incrementally extra working sets to increase your volume of work over time. So I've been basically adding 1 to 2 sets per week for the last 5 weeks, and this will probably be my highest week 6, and then before I deload, pull back some sets, and then basically start low and build myself back up after what I consider like a resensitization phase. So throwing down some pre-workout before that session, I'll either have the bulk pre-workout here, 1 serve, or I'll have a can of sugar-free Monster. Basically, at this stage, energy starting to take a little bit of a dip with the diet, and I just find that getting something with sort of 300, 400 megs of caffeine in it pre-training can just really help you to maintain a high intensity, whereas it would probably otherwise dip if you were sort of just guided by the low calories and the low energy associated with that. So this one contains citrulline, BCAAs, creatine, beta-alanine, and caffeine, but honestly, I'm only really taking it for the caffeine. I think the other ingredients are probably less so important. Basically, it's just to try and maintain a high intensity of training when calories are low, and potentially performance might slip a little bit. So during training, I'm taking some essential amino acids. So people have debated the sort of EAAs and BCAAs or branched chain amino acids for a long time, and we initially thought that BCAAs, so the 3 major amino acids that are involved in stimulating muscle protein synthesis, we thought that these were basically the key to growth. So basically consume lots of BCAAs, it's going to enhance your muscle growth. But since new research has come out, it's actually shown that EAAs, meaning essential amino acids, meaning containing the full spectrum of amino acids, are actually superior to just consuming the BCAAs in isolation. And basically the analogy that I use is that you can't build a full house or a new house without all the bricks. So all the bricks would be the full spectrum of amino acids, whereas BCAAs, that might bring extra builders to the work site, but still if you don't have the bricks to build a full muscle protein, it's actually almost irrelevant. So I've been taking BCAAs during training. I think another big misconception about amino acids is that they're 0 calorie. And basically supplement companies have been able to get away with this for a while because they're legally allowed to list free-form amino acids as having a 0 calorie content, but that is not the case. They absolutely do have calories. So I actually just track essential amino acids exactly the same as I do for protein. So if I was having 10 grams of protein, that would equate to 10 grams of EAAs. Nothing magical about EAAs. I purely consider them just a protein substitute, but it gives the added bonus of giving you something nice to sip on during your training. But yeah, it's not the key to growth. It's not going to sort of drastically improve your results. It can just be a nice, convenient way to get in some protein. So I'm going to throw this down, and then next time we'll see you. We'll be at the gym for a heavy ass back workout.
Okay. We have some fabulous live music later on, but right now here's the kind I prefer. Okay.
Faithful and brave.
So we just finished a pretty grueling back workout. I'm going to take you through what I'm having for my post-workout meal. So it's going to be protein pancakes, basically a recipe I designed myself that's really high protein, low carb and fat, and pretty low overall calories, which helps a lot while I'm dieting. So first ingredient is 250 grams of egg whites, 30 grams of whey protein using the protein matrix from Bulk. Put that one in there. 2 grams of baking powder, 15 grams of self-raising flour, 50 grams of the vanilla cake mix. It's actually super low fat, and the macros are super decent. Just gonna put a little bit of cinnamon on that. Take it over to an electric cake mixer. That's what the texture should look like. You just want to chuck a pan on medium heat with a light spray of cooking oil. I'm just going to ladle in. So wait until you can see like some bubbles start popping on the top, and that'll tell you when it's ready to flip. So you can see it raises quite nice. They'll flatten out a bit, but had pretty good volume. First one off the rank. So I'll put a little drizzle, sugar-free maple, one bit of cinnamon. I'm gonna do 50 grams. Alright, let's breeze. Do 25 on there. Oh, we had a runner. Put that on there. That'll be nice and layered for the next level. Second layer on top. Go. Repeat that process. And you can make a higher stack if you do smaller pancakes. I just don't want to muck around with having to do 10 different flips. It's a lot quicker this way. No calories wasted. Getting pretty close now. Tatua light whipped cream. Super low calories compared to regular whipped cream. That's 32 grams, so it's about 3 serves. But a serve is like 1 gram of fat, 1 gram of carb, and no protein essentially. And then I'll just finish it with a bit of fruit. So here we've got the finished protein pancake product. You can see there's massive amount of volume, super tasty, high protein, not high carb, and super low fat. So I'll pop up the macros and the ingredients on the screen for this one, so you can give it a crack at home. You don't need a whole lot of ingredients, and it doesn't take a whole lot of time. I can't cook to save my life, and I can still do this. So we're gonna dig into this, and this will be post-workout meal. I had a lot of questions about how I've adjusted my calories and my macros during the cut. And it's a really good question, and I find that often a lot of people get quite stuck when they start losing a bunch of weight at the start of their diet, but then they run into a plateau and they're not really sure where to go with their food from that point onwards. So I'm going to take you through the first 7 weeks of my cutting diet and basically show you the changes that I made and why I made them. The first week of my cut, my average weight was 108.1 kilograms. During that first week, my starting calories were 3,500, and that gave me a macro split of 250 protein, 490 carb, and 60 fat. So that's where I started. Into my second week of the cut, my weekly average for week 2 was 105.2 kilos. So you can see I dropped 2.9 kilos off the average in the first, basically between week 1 and week 2 of the cut. And that's basically just a big loss of fluid, loss of glycogen, and loss of food weight that when I was consuming higher calories. So you remember from my last video, I said I was targeting around or greater than 1% body weight losses per week. So somewhere around 1.1 kilos or above is a happy place for me to be. Easily made it for the first week. My week 3 average was 103.4, which gave me a drop of 1.8 kilos. Again, I was happy with that. No need to try to go much faster. My week 4 average was 102.3. See, things are starting to slow down, but I still lost 1.1 kilos, which was on par with my target. Week 5, slowed down a little bit more again with an average of 101.3 kilos. So 1 kilo on the dot drop between those 2 weeks. Like I said before, I was aiming for greater than 1% body weight losses per week, so greater than a kilo lost per week. So this was the first point that I made a calorie drop. Now, when you run into plateaus, when you don't meet your weight loss target for the week, generally I recommend reducing calories by 5 to 10%. If you're at the start of the diet, where you're still a little bit fatter and not too much diet fatigue is built up, you can afford to go with closer to a 10% drop in calories. If you're a bit leaner and at the tail end of a cut, that's when I'll play it a little bit more conservatively and drop closer to 5%. Because I was still pretty fat and I didn't have too much diet fatigue built up, I chose to drop calorie intake by 10%. Now, we know we're dropping calories by 10%, which takes us to 3,150 calories. Where should we take these calories from? We don't want to take away from protein, because protein's important for maintaining our muscle mass as we drop the fat. My fat intake is already pretty low. We do still need to get an essential or a minimum essential intake of fatty acids. So I didn't want to take my fat intake any lower than it was because it was already starting at a low point. So that basically leaves us with carbs to take from. And usually the most times when I'm making calorie adjustments during a cut, most of it will come from carbs, assuming that the fat intake was pretty low to begin with. So this left me with new macros for week 6 of 250 protein again, still 60 fat, so around at 0.6 grams per kilo. Usually a minimum recommended is 0.5 grams per kilo of body weight. And our new carb target was 402.5 grams of carbs. This was my week 6 intake, my first calorie drop. Now my week 6 weekly average was 99.9 kilos, so just snuck under the triple digit figure. And that was a drop of 1.4 kilos, so pretty happy with that. Got an immediate response from the calorie drop, which brought me back into my target rate of weight loss range. Week 7, the weekly average wasn't too much different. It was 99.1 kilos. So only a drop of 800 grams. Now, this is completely normal as you sort of continue along the course of a fat loss or a weight loss phase. Adaptation tends to happen more frequently and more quickly as you get leaner. You can sort of get away with a lot of shit at the start of the diet when you're a little bit fatter. I wasn't happy with that amount of weight loss because I'm not super lean yet by any means. So I decided to make a calorie drop. Now I'm comparing to this weekly, this first week average, down close to 10 kilos lower than that. So a lot of tissue has been lost in that process. So factoring that in, I decided to be a little bit more conservative with the calorie drop for this week. So I decided to only drop calories by 5%. So this left me with a new calorie total for week 8 of 3,000 calories. Again, I didn't want to take from my protein and I don't want to take from fat because I'd already considered them to be close to basically minimums or optimal, which means protein was still 250, fats were still 60, carbs came down again with 365 grams of carbs. So this was a take 5% on calories, whereas here was a take 10%. So these are my current macros, basically as we stand. I'm still aiming to lose close to that 1 kilo mark per week, probably until I can get at least to the 97 range. And then from that point, I'll probably have around, I should have 3 weeks left of my diet, and I should be in respectable condition, not shredded. I won't be shredded, but I should have some decent lines and some decent abs, and that's when I'll just pull back on the target rate of weight loss and not be so aggressive, and I'll be comfortable to drop sort of 500 to 700 grams per week until the remainder of the cut is complete. So I hope you guys found that valuable. I get that question a whole lot of times regarding sort of how do I adjust my diet, because the diet that might work fantastic week 1 of your plan, it's not going to still be effective by week 6 or week 7. You need to make adjustments. So if you've got any questions about how I do things or any questions about the protocol or the diet, feel free to drop a comment in the comment section and I'll make sure I get back to you. Thanks guys.